Hey all, Ron here from Military Images magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. In the last episode, I told you about Chauncey Brunson Welton, the corporal in the 103rd Ohio Infantry, who brought home a relic from the Battle of Resaca, a piece of wood from a tree with a musket ball lodged into it. He had put a note connected to the tree that described how he cut it out of the tree with his own hands. And then, of course, he had a battle letter that described how his regiment suffered about a third of its number in casualties. I also told you about Welton's return home after the war and how he went on to become a legislator in Wisconsin, lived a long, fruitful, happy life. What I didn't tell you about was his early war service. In fact, before he joined the Army in 1862, he was not a supporter of Abraham Lincoln. He was also not a supporter of emancipation for enslaved people. At some point after he joined the 103rd Ohio, his attitudes began to change. How exactly they were shaped, whether it was joining the Army and being part of the Union forces to destroy the Confederates, the Confederate military, whether it was part of his exploration of the South, seeing enslaved people firsthand. All of these are questions that need to be answered. Whatever his motivations were, whatever got his brain thinking, eventually changed his perspective about both of those subjects. And so he found himself in Washington, D.C. on March 6th, 1865. That's the same day that Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated, his second inauguration. For you students of the Civil War, and I dare say most Americans, everyone knows the second inaugural address as being one of Lincoln's greatest masterpieces, his greatest documents. The Gettysburg Address is right alongside of it, but that second inaugural was really something. This image here from the Library of Congress captures Lincoln up on the podium next to a table, reading from a document, probably reading that inaugural address. The flag is waving. The crowds are all gathered around. You can actually see them moving closer, probably to hear Lincoln's words. And something that you also may recall is that on that day, on that March day in 1865, it was cloudy, it had been raining. And when Lincoln began to speak, the clouds parted and the sun came out. It's unbelievable. Well, Chauncey Welton, he was in the crowd that day, and he wrote a wonderful letter that describes the experience. I want to share that with you now. So here we go. It's dated Washington, D.C., March 6th, 1865. Dear parents, this pleasant morning finds me seated on the floor in barracks number 4, writing a few lines to inform you that I am yet blessed with health and enjoying myself as well as could be expected. There is no orders for us to leave Washington yet, and there is some talk that we will go to New York when we leave here. I think I would rather stay there than here. Of course, you know that Abraham Lincoln has been reinaugurated and again placed in the chair that he has had so well filled for the last 4 years. And I had the pleasure of seeing him inaugurated, and I wish you could have been here, for it was grand and an imposing spectacle. The oath was administered on the east portico of the Capitol, a platform being erected there for that purpose. Members of the cabinet, senators, representatives, and foreign ministers from every foreign nation occupied seats at the right and left of the president and vice president. It had rained most all of the week, and Saturday morning found the sky as black with clouds as ever, and the rain not ceasing. But although it rained hard and the mud was deep, long before the procession made its appearance from the White House. The streets were crowded, every window was full of ladies, and an immense crowd had made its way to the Capitol to secure a good position. And for a great distance in front of the Capitol, it was one living mass of men, women, and children of all ages and color. As the president and others made their appearance on the stage, a deafening cheer rent the air, reassuring him who has so nobly and honestly steered the ship of state through so long and tempestuous a storm that the hearts of thousands were still with him. Almost at the same instant that the president made his appearance, the dark clouds rolled away, and as he arose to deliver his address, the sun burst forth from behind its mask of dark clouds and shone in all its splendor until it sank in the west at night. So let us pray and hope that the next 4 years of administration may be like the day in which he took the chair, and that the dark clouds of war and the drizzling rain of bloodshed, which is penetrating the roof of so many homes now in the morning of his administration, may soon be swept away, and the bright sun of peace again shine forth in all its splendor. I gained a seat near the stand. There were the most people that I'd ever saw together. Probably you have never seen the program of such a procession in the papers, so I will not give it here. There is to be an extra session of Congress, and I'm going up this afternoon to see Vice President Johnson assume the first duties of his term. But I must bring this to a close. I will write again in a few days. I wrote to the girls the other day and tell them to answer. There is a great many deserters coming in every day, and there is almost as many deserters here that have taken the oath as there is uniformed soldiers. Your affectionate son, C.B. Welton. What an amazing letter. His description of the clouds breaking and the sun coming out, his relationship of the clouds to the clouds of war and the rain of blood falling on the rooftops of various homes across the country. That is just pure, almost pure poetry. It's beautiful narrative, beautiful prose. And so that's the story of Corporal Chauncey Welton on March 6th, 1865, at Lincoln's second inaugural. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research